Oh boy, here we go. The VIPs. Everyone's favorite part about Squid Game. Fans raved about their performances, and no one was taken back or enraged by these characters making an appearance on our screens. Certainly, no one on IMDb hates the VIPs. Like, no one. So let's talk about these Western stereotype wealthy elite goofballs. Also, it's that special time of the video where I sit you down and tell you that there will be spoilers. There's a lot we don't know about the VIPs, as the 2 episodes they're featured in give us only a few vague details about their lifestyles, how they experience the games, and why they choose to watch the games. Perhaps the most frustrating moment for me is when they cut away from Jin-Ho when he's forcing VIP number 4 to tell him everything he knows about the games. I really need to see what's on that video recording. So who are the VIPs? Well, in order to answer that question, let's start at the beginning. In the late 80s, Oilam, sometimes known as the host or number 1, felt no satisfaction from the enormous amount of wealth he accumulated. He must have owned and operated some major banks, as he claimed that he made a fortune by lending money. Something that also supports this fact is that in real life, the sky building Elam tells Sung-gi-hun to meet him at is the executive center that's part of the International Finance Center in Uido. So one day, Elam decided to get together and do some brainstorming with his rich clients, as they also felt empty from their significant wealth. Those clients would later be known as the VIPs. During this brainstorming session, they all tried to figure out a way to have fun together. The last time number 1 felt alive was playing with his friends as a kid, or watching his own kids play. Because of this, it's implied that Elam was the one to have the initial idea for the games. In episode 7, VIPs, when the frontman is leading the VIPs into the lounge area to watch the glass bridge game, VIP number 2 claims the games this edition have been amazing, and VIP number 3 comes in with the contest in Korea was the best. This is implying that there's different variations of the games, hosted by other hosts and held in different countries. The main reason the VIPs came to the facility is that their really big television screens don't compare to watching the games with their own eyes, even though they have to use binoculars to watch the games when they're at the facility, which makes sense for some reason. Up until this point, the 6 VIPs have been watching the games from the comfort of their own home, using the same private connection the frontman is seen using during red light, green light. The hosts from other countries must stream their games in a similar way using the secure feed, almost like a cable package for the death games, featuring every country that's putting on their own version of Squid Game. The last time Elam felt alive was during his childhood, so Squid Game is modeled after that very thing, which is why the other VIPs didn't know what Squid Game was, and why the frontman needed to explain to them that it was originally a children's game that was played in Korea many years ago. This also informs us that the VIPs we see in this episode are not the same VIPs that were there for the initial brainstorming session for Squid Game. The guards' masks have the shapes from Squid Game, and even the giant little girl killer robot has a hairpiece with the same shapes. With the rest of the games being modeled after number 1's childhood, it's safe to assume that the other hosts have their own personal themed competitions going on in their own countries, with the games they grew up with and the cultures they're familiar with. When the frontman is leading the VIPs to their private rooms, he tells them that they can place their bets before the next game begins, telling us that the organization has their own organized gambling system for the VIPs to place bets on the players, giving the organization another form of revenue on top of the price of admission to watch the games on their TV or in person. Squid Game has existed since the year 1988, and ever since its creation, the number of players has been growing every year. So it's safe to assume that the number of VIPs is growing every year as well, explaining why number 1 invited some new friends. At the start of episode 7, the frontman picks up a phone call from a mysterious person and says, "I'm happy to hear that you enjoyed the game, sir. And also, yes, sir, the host is currently waiting for the other VIPs to arrive." The first time I watched this, I was curious, but then later on, I just assumed this mysterious person was number 1. But then upon rewatching it, I realized, oh wait, the frontman mentions the host, aka number 1, is waiting for the other guests to arrive, meaning it's not number 1, and it couldn't be another VIP because we only see 6 VIPs arrive outside of the facility, and they all arrived on the same helicopter. But then who in the mozzarella sticks is the frontman talking to on that phone call? I can't answer this. However, I will say that I think I was wrong about the frontman taking number 1's place after his death in the sky building. I think this mystery phone person is gonna come in and be the main baddie of season 2, or even the main villain of the series. The person may not be referred to as a host or VIP. They could be going by their own title as they outrank number 1. I have a strong feeling we're gonna be introduced to this person in season 2, and judging by the fact that Squid Game is still in Netflix's top 10 during the month of November, season 2 is happening whether anyone likes it or not. In an interview interview with A Hollywood Reporter, when asked about season 2, the director of the series, Hwang Dong-yao, said that I haven't decided whether or not I should do another season. But if you're looking at it in a positive way, because so many people love season 1 and are expecting good things for season 2, there are people everywhere in the world offering their opinions about where the show should go. I could actually pull ideas from all the fans around the world to create the next season. I think that's what I'm wrestling with right now, that I shouldn't just view it as a huge amount of pressure, but think of all this love and support that I'm receiving as a big box of inspiration that I can leverage for season 2. Someone tell him about my channel, because I got ideas. But also, in the same interview with The Hollywood Reporter, he stated that he lost 6 teeth from the amount of stress he was taking on during the production, as he was constantly revising the script as he was filming. So I'm totally okay with this guy taking a little break for a bit. So after I already recorded and edited that, Hwang Dong-yao announced that there will be a season 2. He just confirmed it, but I'm still gonna leave in that quote because I feel it's pretty insightful. I think the number one thing people talk about when it comes to the VIPs is the acting. Most of the questions I heard about the VIPs are, why do they talk like that? I can't tell if this is me always needing to play the contrarian or my devotion to Squid Game, but I'm going to justify the line delivery of the VIPs, specifically after the backlash they received in Western culture, but not on IMDb. No one on IMDb hates the VIPs. To start, being an English actor in a country where English is not the native language can come with its challenges. The main challenge being the fact that there is a translation barrier, obviously, and you're often dealing with writers and editors that don't speak English as their first language. So the editors can sometimes use less than ideal takes. Like right here, when VIP number 4, played by Jeffrey Giuliano, says, "Listen, I'm willing to give anybody some slack," instead of saying the actual expression of, "I'm willing to cut anybody some slack." According to his interview with The Guardian, Giuliano made sure to deliver the saying correctly for every take after that one. But in the editing process, they ended up going with that first take, even though you can hear him almost stutter during the delivery of this line because you can clearly tell this piece of roughly translated dialogue sounded unnatural to him. In the interview with The Guardian that I was just talking about, when discussing the dialogue and overall delivery of the lines, Daniel C. Kennedy, who plays VIP number 2, claimed that we are generally providing an interpretation of what a Westerner is from the point of view of a different culture. For Western viewers, there can be this uncanny valley feeling that comes from that. But as an actor, unless I feel it's pointlessly abusive, it's not my place to challenge a director's view of my culture. The actors have also claimed that there was barely any context given to them, other than the fact that they were playing scumbag millionaires and total idiots. This is not an uncommon issue, and it's not really anyone's fault. These are problems that will always arise when you're working with a culture you're not entirely familiar with. When further talking about the line delivery, John D. Michaels, also known as VIP number 1, explained whether they're watching with a dubbed or subtitled version, people who don't speak Korean don't have the understanding needed to fully judge a Korean actor's performance. What might be cartoonish or broad about them is lost in translation, whereas the VIPs had no such luxury. But even with these issues, I still kinda like the aesthetic of it. It was corny, but it worked for me. By the way, I did some research into the VIPs, and they can all act, trust me. Their performance was mostly intentional, satirical, and a little Kubrickian. Now, obviously, the VIP's humor applies to the lowest common denominator. There was literally a scene where they verbatim were like, "You know what's funnier than 69? 96. And this happens twice, actually. In total, they collectively laughed at 69 a million times throughout the episode, and believe me, I counted. This is juvenile humor that no one on this planet finds funny, unless you're Gen Z and using it ironically. The blatant cringe dialogue of the VIPs is clearly a byproduct of the Western culture stereotype they're portraying, but I feel like there's more to it. After these two lovebirds fall to their death, VIP number 1 comments on the poetic ending, and VIP number 2 claims, "Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned," quoting a line from the play The Morning Bride by William Congreve. Then VIP 1 praises VIP 2 for being a student of the Bard, as Shakespeare, for those of you who don't know, is commonly referred to as the Bard. But VIP number 5 corrects him, saying it's not William Shakespeare, it's William Congreve, and you're confusing your Williams. The original quote from The Morning Bride is, "Heaven has no rage like love to hatred turned, nor hell a fury like a woman scorned." VIP number 2 says an abbreviated version of this, but the man fan still misquotes it. Also, VIP number 3 misquotes Dufu by saying good rain knows the best time to fall, when in Dufu's original work, it's actually the good rain knows when to fall. The point that I'm trying to make is that from their dialogue, the VIPs come across as ignorant and pretentious. They are not intelligent by any means, as they constantly laugh at 69, as well as confuse and misquote their poets. Like the fact that you can't differentiate Congreve from Shakespeare, but still consider yourself a student of the Bard, that's pretty bad. So the presentation of the VIPs made everyone hate them even more. And in my opinion, I don't know, isn't that the point? We are already supposed to hate them. And frankly, cringing at their humor is the best part, as we're never supposed to be laughing with them, we're clearly supposed to be laughing at them. In my previous Squid Game videos, I mentioned how this show casually treats capitalism as the new religion. In the main room, there's this piggy bank that's filled with the prize money. It's lit by this gold yellowish light and is elevated above all the players, like it's this holy object of worship. I also mentioned how Elam can be viewed as this godlike figure, as he runs the facility, makes the conditions on the outside unbearable so people have to compete, and there's other religious subtext and stuff. But if this godlike metaphor can apply to Elam, it can apply to any of the other VIPs. But right now, I want to talk about this guy, number 244, who is incredibly religious. At the beginning of episode 7, 244 prays, asking his Lord and Savior to give him protection and strength, to guide him towards salvation, and look down on him with pity and forgiveness for what he's done and what he will do, and all that good stuff. This is the first shot we see when he begins the prayer, almost like he's praying to the piggy bank, also known as the shrine of the system. And because of this, I feel like 244's character was symbolic of a devout capitalist, someone who doesn't question the flaws and blindly defends the broken system, because one day they believe that they will join the gods in the clouds and get rewarded with a significant amount of wealth for all their hard work. But statistically, this will never be the case, and their chances of joining the wealthy elite are dwindling every day. For those of you commenting on my videos saying I don't understand capitalism or economics, hi, how you doing? It's not that I don't get it, even though I manage to have an incredible lack of understanding when it comes to most things. I'm not saying capitalism and the free market gots to go, nor am I saying the opposite, because guess what? Everything is made up and no one knows what they're doing. There's still no perfect way to run or govern something. So my critiques on capitalism are the loopholes within it, and how the wealthy elites like the VIPs and number 1 are managing to ruin everyone else's chances of getting to a place that's a little bit closer to where they are, as it's implied throughout the season that the rich are making life hell for the working class. Like in the scene where Sung Gi-hun is getting a haircut, and you can hear the news reporter on the TV announce that South Korea's household debt is currently on the rise, topping the current global average. You can also hear the reporter say that the biggest reason for the steep rise in Korea's reported household debt is due to the lifted government restrictions on financial loans, allowing people at the top like number 1 and his pals to drive up the interest rates and drown families in debt as the price of living goes up. So the hardworking people are unable to progress, as they're being drowned by stuff like high interest rates and medical debt. So yeah, that's what I'm critiquing about capitalism. And that's what this show is critiquing about capitalism. Number 244 has faith in this higher power, symbolic of him having faith in this flawed and corrupt system, and thinks his faith will protect him and get him the money. But then he ends up getting pushed off the ledge because he got unlucky by picking number 6 in a game where the odds are already stacked against you. And this is capitalism 2021. 244 believed in a system that was made to work against him. With that said, getting to the position of the VIPs can be a result of hard work. But what it mainly comes down to on top of hard work is luck and timing, something that was perfectly represented by the Glass Bridge game. But who knows, maybe I'm giving the VIPs too much slack. Maybe the VIPs didn't earn their wealth, as they're just referred to as number 1's clients. They could have been born into it, since this show already hinted at the fact that their country is headed in the opposite direction of a meritocracy, making the wealthy elite a new form of royalty, which we can all admit royalty was already a concept to begin with. I'm really oversalting this video, aren't I? Okay. The VIPs wore masks like the guards, waiters, and the frontman to preserve anonymity amongst one another and the staff. Like number 1's penthouse and the final card that Ki-hun receives, their masks are gold to match the money in the piggy bank. Perhaps the most interesting mask is the owl mask number 1 wears. In the Bible, the owl is viewed as symbolic of loneliness and destruction. We hear number 1 talk about his wife and kids throughout the season, but we never see them on the outside, meaning meaning he must have lost them at some point, contributing to his overall loneliness and lack of fulfillment. And as for destruction, he destroys the lives of others on the outside so more people will play the games. In the limo ride, Sung Gi-hun asks the frontman, why do they put on the games? The frontman explains that Gi-hun bets on horses, and at the facility it's no different, except people are their horses. We see this consistent dehumanization throughout these two episodes, like in episode 7 when VIP number 1 explains why the players picked the middle numbers first, saying it was animal instinct. When faced with danger, seek refuge in the herd. With the entire lounge area decorated with humans painted like animals, it drives home the fact that the elite look down at the lower class people as that very thing. You guys remember Sung-woo, right? By the way, I had no idea that he went to SNU, so thank you everyone so much for commenting on my last video and telling me. Otherwise, I would have no way of knowing. Speaking of which, did you know that Sung-woo graduated? Anyway, when Sung-woo starts helping Ollie, and Ollie is extremely grateful, he keeps thanking Sung-woo and referring to him as Sir. However, Sung-woo consistently tells him to drop the whole calling him Sir thing, and later refers to everyone as equal when Han Min-yeo asks who the leader of the group is. However, the frontman, who is a previous participant who returned to the games and joined the elite, conforms to this antiquated formality in business by addressing his superiors as Sir, constantly referring to the host and the other VIPs as such. Just a small detail to indicate the dramatic difference between the VIPs and the players. How the players, even though placed in extremely unfortunate circumstances, show us they still have more humanity than the VIPs. The most animalistic ones are the ones wearing the animal masks. And like number 1, their humanity is completely stripped from them, as they couldn't even comprehend why Gi-hun would give up the prize money in exchange for another human life. That concludes my first deep dive on the VIPs in Squid Game. If you like this video, subscribe and stuff, because I like doing these videos and I would love to keep doing these videos.